Brenda, thank you. We have now Denise. Denise, if you'd go ahead and unmute yourself. We have room for your question for Brenda as well. Just double checking now. There we go. Hi, Denise.
Hi there. Thank you. I love this opportunity to speak to Brenda. I teach older people plant-based eating in Tucson, Arizona, and I love sharing your work. I love your hierarchy of grains slide and all you do. But my question for you, and I have followed, what you've said on this, but just hoping maybe you could give me a little more specific guideline to help people, is the calcium question. And so, even for myself, when I was trying to figure out how to make sure I get enough calcium from plants, I drink soy milk. I get about 300 milligrams in 1 8-ounce glass. But then, in terms of the greens and the beans, so, I saw how collards was high on a calcium, but then I read that it's like moderate with oxalates. And so I'm trying to compare, is it the collards or the kale, and how I mix that up. And then I do eat beans, but it says like some beans are better than other beans. And I guess I just wish I could have, a little bit of a just like a guide, like, if I drink or to advise the people I teach, you can have a glass of soy milk. And if you eat this many cups of raw greens or cooked greens, and then of course it's different between raw and cooked. So if you were able to just share a tiny bit more on that, it would be helpful.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually a really good idea. It sounds like just a little chart that would be ideal. And we actually have in becoming vegan, we have this little center of the plate that's calcium-rich foods, and says, pick 6 to 8 of all of these different foods throughout the day, and it shows you exactly how much of the beans and the low oxalate greens and the figs and the almonds and the chia seeds are another one. All of those different foods that could be reasonable sources of calcium. And so your milk would count as 2 because it's a half a cup. So we're looking at foods that would give you about 150 micrograms per serving. And so you're wanting about 6 of those or 8 of those or something like that. So, but I could see a chart might be really fun. But basically, the biggest thing to remember is that if you're eating a diet where you're including that 300 milligrams of calcium in your fortified milk, and you're eating a varied plant-based diet, and you're including low oxalate greens and a little bit of tofu and a little bit, just a variety of things, you're going to be getting around 500 or 600 milligrams of calcium in your plant foods, plus your 300, you're there. I think you may even be overthinking it. So by including 1 or 1.5 or 2 servings of that fortified non-dairy milk, and then just eating a healthy, varied plant-based diet, you're good to go. And I wouldn't worry about it much beyond that. There's an article that everybody should read that I think is very interesting called Milk and Health by Walter Willett and David Ludwig. And it's free online. And it really looks at the evidence for the link between milk and health, and it addresses a lot of the calcium issues as well. And it's just basically stating that we know maybe a lot more in some ways and a lot less in other ways about the link between calcium and health. And yes, we want to get close to the RDA. Plant-based eaters may need a little bit less than people who are eating a really acidic diet, for example. But overall, we want to be somewhere in the ballpark of 7 to 1,000 milligrams. And if you're older, you might want to be closer to that 1,000 or 1,200, which is recommended. But essentially, it's not as difficult as what many people imagine it to be. And so just do get familiar with the lower oxalate greens and the other foods that can provide calcium, the seeds that are good sources of calcium, the nuts that are good. So basically it's almonds, tahini, chia seeds that are the best, in the nuts and seeds. And then in the beans, the legume family, black turtle beans, navy beans, great northern beans, white beans. Those kinds of beans are good sources. And then in the in the fruit and vegetables, of course, it's the greens, and figs are a reasonable source. And so going through the food groups, selecting your most concentrated sources, and then just having that variety in your diet just gets you there. So I think you probably have to worry a lot less about it than you might be imagining.